Hey guys, we've seen Pilate hand over the verdict of crucifixion at the urging of the crowd, not because Jesus was guilty. He knew the reason they handed him over was envy, but because he wanted to satisfy the crowd. And so he handed him over to the soldiers to be scourged, and then they proceeded to take him into the governor's quarters and began to mock him as king. Now they're going to take him out to where they're going to crucify him, and we'll look at the events of them leading him out to be crucified and putting him up on the cross. So let's pick up. We're in Mark 15 and verse 21. Then they compelled a certain man, Simon a Cyrenian, the father of Alexander and Rufus, and as he was coming out of the country and passing by, to bear his cross. And they brought him to the place Golgotha, which is translated, place of a skull. And then they gave him wine mingled with myrrh to drink, but he did not take it. And when they crucified him, they divided his garments, casting lots for them to determine what every man should take. Now it was the third hour, and they crucified him. And the inscription of his accusation was written above, the King of the Jews. One of the Gospels talks about Jesus bearing the cross on his own, but then all the other Gospels talks about this man by the name of Simon. And so I'm going to assume in harmonization of the Scriptures that Jesus started bearing the cross on his own, but when he couldn't anymore. Think about it. He had the late night trial before the Sanhedrin, an early morning trial before the Pilate, and now he's been scourged. Now he's trying to carry this wooden cross on his back where he's been scourged at. You want to talk about exhaustion and pain. And so when Jesus couldn't bear his cross anymore, they just grabbed a guy off the street and said, "You carry the cross." And that's where Simon comes in. And the soldiers had a right to do that. Look at everything that it says about Simon here. It says that he's a Cyrenian. He's the father of Alexander and Rufus. You know, we read through that and we think, why did he tell us all that? Well, think about this. Mark was written around 65 AD, which is about 30 to 35 years after these events took place. And so if you got a hold of this gospel, you could actually go to Cyrene, which is in Libya, the northern part of North Africa. And you could actually go there and say, "Do you know a man by the name of Simon?" And they'll say, "Oh yeah, he lives over there." And you could go and talk to him yourself. And if he's not around, his sons would be around, Rufus and Alexander. And so what Mark is trying to say is that this guy who carried the cross of Jesus is a real man. And if you don't believe me, you can check it out for yourself. He's just trying to give us as much information as he could. And the Gospels are just kind of filled with wealth of information like that. And so he doesn't just say, "Shut up and believe me." He says, "Go investigate. Go see for yourself." And a lot of people did. And a lot of people believed because they did. So they take him to the place called Golgotha, which is translated a place of the skull. Now, whether it was shaped like a skull or whether there was plenty of skulls there because of the crucifixions, we really don't know. There's plenty of debate about that. But when they got there, they tried to give him this wine mingled with myrrh, but Jesus refused to take it. And that was the one act of mercy that the Roman soldiers would give to those who they were going to crucify. You know, it was meant to kind of take the edge off, but Jesus wasn't having any of it. And I think it was because Jesus wanted to experience the full pain and the full punishment of God's wrath here. It was around the third hour, around 9 a.m., and Mark says that they crucified him. I think it's amazing that that's what Mark says here. You know that these events are things that would have moved him to deep emotion. And something that we would have talked about for hours, Mark just gives us the bare facts. It's like that's all he could muster up to give to us. And as he's hanging there on the cross, the guards continue to belittle him as they cast lots for his only possession, his clothes. The only thing that he had. And so they put the inscription of his accusation up on the cross, and it says, "This is the King of the Jews." Such a dark, dark moment in our history. And tomorrow we're going to continue to look at the events that took place as he was hanging up on that cross.